Good afternoon, and what is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Wednesday the 22nd of March, and I'm in the reading up with a nice cup of tea. And package to unbox. So let's get the knife. Slice this open. There you go. Just get the knife there. Cut the tape. Comes away nice and easy. And what I've got is that. This is London, Manhattan, Tokyo, Carbon 2185, a Cyberpunk RPG, Cities Sourcebook. It's published by Dragon Turtle Games Limited. Came out a few years ago. This is the Cities Sourcebook for Carbon 2185, which was a Cyberpunk role-playing game designed to use the mechanics of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Now, actually pretty much successful, I thought, because Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition is not necessarily designed to handle modern set role-playing games. But Carbon 2185 did a good job, including everything you needed to play, scenario, the means for your characters to sort of like start off from like as minor gang members or would-be gang members trying to work your way to the top, make a name for themselves and a reputation and so on in a cyberpunk setting beset by environmental disaster, corporate overreach, and essentially a century and a half of other technological advances and basically disasters. So enter the cities of London, Manhattan and Tokyo in this source book for Carbon 2095. Within, players will find new equipment, vehicles and even an origin. GMs are treated to over 200 pages of information as well as plot hooks about these new rich settings that will help them develop and run games in these locations. And the great thing about this is that you've got 3 locations described, and they're kind of signature locations for the cyberpunk genre. What that means then, Able, is that you can take these and say, if you're running a British group of role players, they might want to play in their own city of London, which will be familiar to them. Similarly, Americans, you might want to do that with Manhattan, or you just go, well, Tokyo, that's the archetypal cyberpunk city, let's play there no matter where we're actually based. Or simply you just use all 3 in your campaign, places to visit, places to set your campaign. You're free to do that, but that gives you the options. So we open up, there's some really nice artwork, I think it's going to be like that all the way throughout. It's a nice looking book. You've got this, the contents page and the credits. And without a lot of fuss, we're into London. We've got a term, part 1 of the basics, slang. Welcome to the new British Empire. Not quite sure I want to deal with playing with the old British Empire, as it were. You know, it's essentially the Crown Estate is the leading mega corporation of Great Britain. So it's almost like, you know, it's an imperial or royal kind of focused setting, as it were. To a certain extent, we've got a good overview before we see the culture of London. We're discussing its various different groupings and cultures. You know, so we have melting pot of taste, so Afro-Caribbean punks, Canto punks, Brit punks, Middle Eastern punks, Euro punks, and so on. Look at the inner city and the outer city. The aesthetics of those groups and where you are. You've got a map of the city, not a particularly good one, you know, but it will do. Landmarks include Big Ben, Buckingham Palace, Corporate Tower, the Shard, Westminster, Parliament, Royal Tower, and the London Eye. And you're going, the London Eye is still standing after, you know, 200 years. Going, okay, fair enough. I mean, it's not like it's the Eiffel Tower in Paris, but there we go. So we get into the inner city, law against disorder, languages of London, city timeline from June 2019 to January 2185. So covering 160 years of history. London cyberpunks, what they look like, and we've got character options. So we've got a crown executive, complete with classic bowler hat and umbrella. I mean, it's so much so it's almost a cliche, but I mean, you know, I think presumably by like a sense of nostalgia, you know, you'd have them wearing this, the outfit of the city gent. Now, whether or not that applies to female characters, I don't know. Other things, we've got media star, reclamation expert, ganger, crown enforcement officer, roadman, boatman, or boater, sorry, wrecker. List of vices for your player characters in London. And then the city brief overview of London, city districts and zones. Because essentially London itself already is divided into zones according to where you live, how far you've got to travel, because they don't London Underground, basically London Travel, and then we've got each of the story hook. We've got 3 story hooks and so on for each location. So it's making, and these are quite detailed. You know, allies, enemies, what can happen, complications, further adventures. So, you know, quite a lot to go with. Then sights, sounds, and smells, food and drink, gossip and rumours. So you can just, you know, as the game master, you can bring those elements into your game, and thus your campaign to life. And it's going to do the same with Zone 2, Gutter Town. You know, one of the story hooks here is Jack the Cyber Ripper. Yep, had to do Jack the Ripper, of course. Inner city, the corporate zone, Crown Courts. And then gangs of London, including the Teabaggers. Yes, the less said of that, the better. Corporations of London, Crown Estates, Crown UK. That clearly could have been done with an expansion. Sounds like it could have done with much more information there, given that it's sort of like top dog. And then we have a product called Electric Sheep. Keeps you fall asleep within 2 minutes. Uses directed for occasional sleepiness. Keep out of reach of children. Good for health, bad for education. The economy, food, rent, that sort of thing. Because these things are going to matter to your player characters. You know, because at the bottom, temporary accommodation, useful information, useful people to meet. Kill Team 101, a hitman for the New World Order. And you've got a list of sort of various individuals, and then basically KT101, essentially headquarters. So you've got a complete organisation there to involve the play. Characters, got a kill house, a location, which is headquarters for the kill teams, and then front line of the wall, basically exploring sort of at the points where the clashing. And then it's going to do exactly the same for Manhattan. So similar again, slang, city overview, culture of Manhattan in 2185, aesthetics of the city. You know, how much is that going to change? I mean, likewise, how much is that going to have changed from June 2019 through to now? It is, you know, environmental effects, rising seas, that sort of thing. Essentially, the London section has set the format, essentially the template for the rest of the book. That's no bad thing, you know. That, we have our origin lab rat, List of devices, armour, weapons, adverts. Yes, the new Detroit Industries Deckard is one of the most manoeuvrable and fastest car in the known galaxies. The perfect vehicle for those in any line of work. Yours now, and so on. Yeah, a little bit of a nod there to Dual Android's Dream Electric Sheep and Blade Runner. The city's gangs listed there, including cities gang, including the New York Police and Police Department, businesses, law enforcement, corruption, personal protection. The NYPD isn't a gang per se, but the cops in many precincts act like they're in one. The courts, the corporations, city places of interest, lots of places of interest in New York. I've only been once, but would love to go back again. Times Square, Fifth Avenue. You can buy a surprising number of board games in Times Square, I found. Nice illustrations, giving a sense of energy and haze of all the neon light. Surrounding city and the underbelly. Above ground, and then we get to the megacore. So lots of those. The economy, paying for rent, food, drink, temporary accommodation, travel, entertainment aspects, which are going to be important to your player characters because they're going to want to get around, they want to do things, and so on. And then additional content from Manhattan 2185, plot hooks, adversaries, 10 fun Manhattan facts, flavour, colour, details, things to add to your game before we get into it. So that's not quite so much in terms of all the plot hooks and everything in London. You've got a few, not quite so many. Then we get into Tokyo. So Tokyo starts here. And again, the basics. Culture, focusing from the off on the spiritual. No surprise there. We have that perception of essentially the spiritual life of the cities. The Tokyo is important, and the physical sphere, and then the career sphere, and then the aesthetics of the city. And it looks like, and we've got discussion of the poor districts. Then we get into languages. And city timeline again from June 2019 through to January 2185, and essentially throughout what we've got here are, I presume those are going to be Haiku, then part 2, the people of Tokyo 2185. Counter options include Salaryman. And then expanded options here, including cleaner, insurgent, environmentalist, a couple other options, Sagawa, sister, and Kageyama boy. Essentially, they work their clients for information in various ways. Then we have Assassin, which is very kind of like suitable for a Tokyo 2185, and Sumo Wrestler. Look at table of vices. Equipment, armor, helmets, and weapons. Vehicles, Tokyo Mega Gangs. Not quite so, not so described in detail. So there's a bit of variation between the differing cities in their descriptions. we've got the presence of the core and what they're doing. So things like Detroit Industries sort of keeps appearing again and again, and things like the Crown Estate. What does it do? What is it doing in Tokyo? So on. The city overview and its districts. Part 3. The working districts. So getting a paragraph, thumbnail description each. Entertainment districts, Skytrade districts, surrounding area, wider area for your campaign. Then the city's gangs, again, they get a bit more detail here. Economy, again as before, rent, temporary accommodation, food, alcohol, travel, all clearly listed and accessible. Introductory adventure. We've got an introductory adventure. This is set in Tokyo. So yeah, we've got a map of the Tokyo Megaplex, Tokyo Mega, and that's it. That is London, Manhattan, Tokyo City Sourcebook for Carbon 2185, a Cyberpunk role-playing game. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, do please click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. If you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a parcel containing a book or game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. We'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.